What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. All right, check this out. You know that you are starting to get towards like the middle point, towards the end game, somewhere between the middle and the end of any type of labor, conflict, whether it be a strike, whether it be a straight up lockout, you start to see this when the blame game starts to kick in the high gear. And that's what's happening right now with the WGA and the AMPTP. I said that the actors, you haven't heard much about the actors lately because I think the actors are just going to resolve themselves. They're going to be fine. All right. They're going to get whatever they want. But right now, the WGA, they're starting to see the writing is on the wall and they're starting to kick their propaganda into high gear. They're starting to say, well, who said this? What's going on? Who rejected what deal and why? You're starting to get those kind of conversations going. In other words, who's playing hardball? Who really wants a deal? They want to know who's at fault for this mess. I'm talking about the union members. The union members are starting to ask questions, and that's why the WGA has to come out and make statements like this one. As you can see, this headline by Deadline, WGA tells its members that several companies have privately expressed a desire and willingness to negotiate a deal to end the writers' strike. So this is just as clever, okay? Because what they're going to do is say, you know what? We're not the problem, okay? And we're going to say it's not even some of these studios that's the problem. It's the AMPTP. It's the people we're negotiating with that represent the studios. They are the guys that are having the problem, right? And then what's crazy is on the flip side, the AMPTP claims that, or calls the WGA's claims of division in the studio ranks false. Says member companies are aligned. So now you're starting to get that blame game. Both sides are going to start throwing barbs at one another because what it is look, the WGA has no leverage, okay? They got to do this kind of stuff right here, okay? They got to make these claims. Now, I'm not saying that this is not accurate. As a matter of fact, I think the WGA is telling their members the truth in this regards. I think that there are several of these studios that are saying, yo, we would love to get back to business. We would love to start making stuff again, all right? But, our feet are tied because, and this is my opinion, once again, because of the stuff that the WGA is asking for. You guys will remember I covered this article on the last video. I'll link it above if you didn't see it. But it's because of Netflix, okay? This guy is saying that the Hollywood studios should cut Netflix out of the negotiations. The problem is that they can't cut Netflix out of the negotiations because the WGA is asking for streaming residuals, and that is all about Netflix. They want the streaming residuals. If they killed that request, if they said, okay, we don't care about streaming residuals, we'll let it go, whatever, I guarantee you this strike would be over a whole lot quicker because they got a lot of what they wanted out of the writer's room, okay? They got a lot of what they're wanting out of AI. They say AI is still like a big, huge issue, but they're getting like stuff that they've wanted out of that August 11 deal. They got a lot of things that they wanted. They got more money up front. But the big bargaining chip, the one that they can't get around is the streaming residuals. And yeah, they said we'll be more transparent. Okay, we'll open up our numbers. You guys can see what shows are doing what, how many shows of these hit shows are being watched, what hours and, views they're getting. They said they'll give them that, but there was never any agreement to say we'll pay you more in regards to residuals. And that's the big sticking point. These writers want to be able to make all of that residual money on the back end. So they write a show at the beginning and they could just eat off of that show for the rest of the time, and a lot of that stuff goes to Netflix. It's the streaming residuals. And, Netflix is drawing a line in the sand. No, we're not doing it. Or at least we're not going to give you exactly what you want. And that's one of the big reasons why the strike continues. So, like I said, when they talk about several companies have expressed this, yeah, I think the big studios, Disney, Paramount, Universal, Warner Brothers, I think they say, yeah, you know what? We're not really doing that great on streaming anyway. So yeah, go ahead. Just, we'll make the concessions on the writers' rooms and all of these other things. But in regards to the residuals, we're not really like eating off of that ourselves. It's like our streaming services are struggling, It's the Apples and the Amazons and the Netflix. Those are the guys that are probably drawing the hard line. I don't know. I don't have any insider information, but it just seems logical to me that that would be the case. Why would these streaming services care about all of this other crap? Like, no, we good. We don't want to be paying residuals off of all of this content that we're constantly having to purchase from all of these various companies, and then we're going to have to cough up money on the back end. Nah, we're not doing that. We just want to be able to buy this thing and show it, make our money, and be done, So I think, again, it's the streaming services. It's really the conflict is between the studios and the streamers, and they've united. But like this article even says it, The studios and streamers bargaining together through the AMPTP have disparate business models and interests, as well as different histories and relationships with unions. See, they haven't had to deal with these unions, right? These streamers, they haven't had to deal with, like, you know, the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA. But because they jumped into the movie and the television business, now they're dealing with these guys. But they don't have the same business model, let's say Warner Brothers or Paramount. Even though they all got, like, yeah, we got a studio, we got a streaming service, but we don't have the exact same business model. How Netflix makes its money is not the same as how Warner Brothers makes its money. It's not the same as how Apple makes their money. And Amazon. Like, these guys completely different, but yet, and they even say it here, they are competitors in all respects, except when they band together to deal with Hollywood labor. Through the AMPTP, these legacy studios and streamers negotiate as a unified front, which allows hardliners to dictate the course of action for all the companies. So if I'm the WGA, I'm like, okay, the legacy studios who've been dealing with us all this time. Again, I have no side to this. All right. I'm not championing anybody's side, but what I would do in my head is I would say, okay, it's clear that the hardliners are the streamers. That much should be clear at this point. You know, especially if they're saying back up here at the top that, yeah, we're hearing from all of these several companies who are, you know, expressing a desire and a willingness to end the strike. All right. Chances are those are the studios that you guys have been dealing with for decades. All right. All of these old studio bosses, they probably like, yo, man, let's get back to work. Hey, man, that's on y'all. So in my opinion, cut Netflix's, whatever's going to affect Netflix the hardest, cut that out. Get that out of the deal. Get that completely removed. Okay. Or at least accept whatever it is that they're going to give you. All right. Yeah, we'll open up the books. Okay, we made some strides. We'll open up the books. We'll show you our numbers. We'll show you how many people are streaming a particular show so you can see everything, and then you can use that to negotiate for residuals in the future. That's the August 11 deal. All they got to do is do that. But they're not interested in doing that. They're still trying to draw this hard line, and to me, that's the problem with the WGA. Don't draw the hard line on things that are going to be very difficult, okay? At this point, this is something they've given you a lot. Take what you can get, and then start working on that towards the next offer. We have made it clear that we will negotiate with one or more of the major studios outside the confines of the AMPTP to establish the new WGA deal. Now, here's a huge issue that I got. I got a really big problem with this because this is a union saying we will negotiate outside of the confines of the AMPTP. Now, I guarantee you, if you had any writer that says, well, we'll negotiate with the major studios outside the confines of the WGA, all hell would break loose, all right? It's funny how this organized labor, they want it to work for their advantage. Oh, no, you guys can't make any outside deals. You can't negotiate anything outside of us, all right? With the studios or with whoever. No, you can't do any side deals. You know, we're all united. It's all for one and one for all. But when it comes to them, oh, yeah, we've made it clear. Oh, we will negotiate with one or more of the major studios. We'll ask them, you know, the AMPTP to break ranks, you know, these studios. Oh, but y'all better not break ranks. You little writers at home, y'all better not break ranks. All right? You see the hypocrisy that's going on here? This is one of the big reasons why the WGA is failing, okay? Because they say stupid crap like that. There is no requirement that the companies negotiate through the AMPTP. In my opinion, there should be no requirement for writers to negotiate through the WGA. You guys made it that way so that you can have some power. And yeah, there is maybe an opportunity to get more for the little writers because you're united front. You're a big united front. So there's more of an opportunity to get something for the little writers. But yeah, I found this just to be absolute hypocrisy. That they would even say that. So if the economic destabilization of their own companies isn't enough to cause a studio or two or three to either assert their own self-interest inside the AMPTP or to break away from the broken AMPTP model, perhaps Wall Street will finally be able to make them do it. Wouldn't it be funny if, I mean, the writers can make the exact same claim, okay? There's plenty of big time writers that do not need you, WGA. They don't need you. You guys are negotiating for the 10th person in the writer room, all right? The last little minuscule writer. That's who you're negotiating for. There's a lot of big-time writers that don't need these guys. Don't need them at all. They can go out there and make their own deals and do what they want to do. They can be their own showrunners, deal directly with the studio. Honestly, that's what they all should be doing anyway, and just completely get rid of this union model, because look what it's leading to. It's just leading to a broken entertainment world. You know, it's ridiculous. But then we get back to this article where basically the AMPT is calling them all a bunch of liars, said, nope, the member companies are lying. And so far, that's the way it looks, all right, because they ain't broke ranks yet. The AMPTP called the Writers Guild out Friday night after the guild released a statement saying that several of the legacy companies have privately expressed both the willingness and desire to negotiate an agreement that adequately addresses writers' issues. In response, this is what they had to say. The AMPTP member companies are aligned and negotiating together to reach a resolution. Any suggestion to the contrary is false. That is why the AMPTP has repeatedly put forward offers that address major priorities of the WGA, including a last round of offers on 17th and 18th. On many issues, AI amongst them, we are close. Our AI proposal has provided clear guarantees that the use of AI will not affect writers' pay, credit, or separated rights. We have asked the WGA to identify any remaining holes in the AI offer, and it has not responded. Well, again, that's not really their issue. I think they are probably okay with that. It's about, and again, this is my opinion. This is the way I'm reading it. They didn't give them enough when it comes to the residuals, all right? They want them to iron out something right now that says that the residuals are going to be this and that. And, you know, they're like, well, we'll open up the books. You can see what the streaming numbers look like. And then you can use those streaming numbers to kind of help yourselves negotiate something down the road, okay, on the next one. But on this one, no, we're not giving you anything because, you know, again, and they'll probably try to figure out a way to worm around that. But they're not going to give it to them right now. So, that's just the way I look at it. You know, I feel like, hey, get back to work with what you got. You know, Netflix is going to, continue to eat off of y'all for the next 3 years. But maybe 3 years from now, you can negotiate a different settlement. Yeah, you guys know my favorite part. Let's get to the deadline comments to see what these guys are talking about. WGA needs to vote on the last AMPTP bill. I don't understand why they haven't voted yet either. All right. They should have voted on this one already. These strikes were a huge mistake. Yes. The WGA thought because the agencies abandoning packaging fees, they had power. They didn't. The studios have all the power, period. Their last offer was literally their last offer. Studios have 50 to 100 years of content and unlimited financial resources. Throw in sports, news, etc., and you get the idea. The WGA should stop the rhetoric and posturing and let their members vote on the latest offer. 1,000%. I guarantee you if they voted on that offer, it would pass. All right? It would absolutely pass, and the WGA would, and the strike would be over. But the WGA doesn't even want to bring it to their members to have them vote on it. Think about that. Why is it that they don't? Okay, if we think that this deal is so bad, then go ahead and let these cats vote. And that's what the AMPTP and the studios are going to do. They're just going to sit back like this and say, okay, you guys go ahead and vote on that anytime you're ready. We're going to be right here waiting on the results. Okay. And they know that the writers would take it because people are starving. They would get pressure to take it from all the other smaller writers. Even if you were against the deal, you would still say, hey, man, let's get back to work. We'll live to fight another day. This guy, Mark, says, I genuinely don't understand how writers can believe that their guild leadership knows what they are doing and understands business and negotiating, while at the same time believing they've never been paid less, been more vulnerable, etc. It seems that at a minimum, the WGA leadership bears some responsibility for the horrible state of their profession, and before going down the road of it would be so much worse, but please ask yourself why the Goodman, Stein, Kaiser, etc. all have agents and representatives negotiating for them personally, but then feel confident negotiating for 11,000 other writers. I don't think that these guys are doing a good job at all, okay? These three guys in the WGA leadership, they're not doing a good job, and they probably need to just let them vote on it, all right? We got something out of this. Let them vote. A little bit more money in everybody's pockets is good. And then we'll move forward. Next one, we'll try to strategize a little bit better. They don't have a strategy of how to win this thing. The studios can just be like, here's the offer, and we're going to go ahead and get all of this old content until you guys come to your senses. You know, we'll bump back some, of the finished products that we have. We'll bump some of that stuff back until you guys come to your senses. So now things that are coming out in late 2023, we'll put that to early 2024 and even late 2024. All right. We have content in the pipeline. How much money do you have in the pipeline, in your savings account, in your checking account? All right. Draining your 401ks. I mean, at some point in time, you got to recognize your writers are not in the position to continue like this. You got to pull the plug on this thing. Let them vote on it. And if they vote negative, all right, well, then the writers are choosing that. But right now, the WGA is just choosing. This is ridiculous. There needs to be a referendum to exit the WGA like now. I guarantee you will find support and the WGA will rush back to the table to avoid the defections. All it takes is a couple of major showrunners. Make the move. You can end this now. Yeah, 100%. He's absolutely right. I don't see why the WGA has to be on lock with this thing. They don't. You don't need a referendum. It's called going financial core, and anyone is welcome to do it at any kind. I mean, you can get out of the WGA 100%. Do the right thing. Exit the WGA. These writers can do it. You know, again, you just got to be independent. You got to be willing to take that risk. You know, and I think a few of them doing it, they would bring everybody back to the table. This guy's correct. IATSC, you should have crossed the picket lines, because I assure you the WGA will not stand up for you during your negotiations. I promise you this. I'll be back to say I told you so when it happens. There's a lot of these cats in the IATSC that are hurting right now. They are struggling right now, and I don't know how they're going to pull themselves out of it. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this whole thing, because apparently they're supposed to be going on strike next year, you know. Their negotiations supposed to start around February, March is what I'm being told. So if that's the case, then it's going to get real interesting to see what happens with these guys. Anyway, folks, what do y'all think about this whole he said, she said when it comes to the WGA and AMPTP? I think there's a lot of, like, you know, sneaky pool being played behind closed doors. And everybody right now is on the blame game. I don't think it's going to matter. I think ultimately the studios are still going to get what they want. The writers can only hold out for so much longer. But you guys let me know what you think. Jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.